Welcome. Welcome to the Cultural Connection panel for Tijuana Innovadora 2020. I'm James Clark, and I'm very honored to be hosting and moderating this panel. You know, when I moved to San Diego from Los Angeles in 2003, I was very concerned that I would be giving up so many cultural attractions that I'd loved in the City of Angels. Fortunately, I was really wrong. I've gotten so much more here in Tijuana and San Diego that have offered me a full plate of cultural delights, which I could have been out every night of the week, at least pre-COVID. Today, we have 4 panelists that represent the very best of San Diego Tijuana. Martha Gilmer is the CEO of San Diego Symphony, which along with the San Diego Opera, La Jolla Music Society, mainly Mozart, and her sister organizations in Tijuana, bring the world's musicians to our stages. Martha has initiated an annual citywide January Arts Festival, engaged leading guest artists for their San Diego premieres, commissioned new works, and presented several West Coast premieres. Under Martha's guidance, the Symphony's Bayside Summer Nights is scheduled to inaugurate its new permanent facility, the Shell, in the summer of 2021. She has also inaugurated Jazz at the Jacobs series and appointed an internationally acclaimed Rafael Payari as her music director. Judy Grandwohl came to the Natural History Museum in Balboa Park after 30 years at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington. The NAT is working to preserve the remarkable biodiversity of the Southern California and Baja California Peninsula. Judy is also a leader in the continuing enhancement of Balboa Park, the 1,200-acre urban cultural oasis that opened with the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition. The park is the home of the NAT and 15 other museums, the famed San Diego Zoo, and theaters including the Old Globe, which along with the La Jolla Playhouse have made San Diego a leader in premiering Tony Award-winning production. Ochoa is the Secretary of Culture for the state of Baja California. Pedro has served the presidency of Mexico in the Ministry of the Interior and the National Council of Culture in the Ministry of Culture. At the Ministry of Foreign Relations, he was cultural attaché at the Consulate General of Mexico in San Diego for 12 years. At Secretario, the Tijuana Cultural Center, he was general director on 2 occasions, the first of them in 1989 to 1994, and the second period from 2013 to 2018, where he was characterized by giving special emphasis to exhibitions of national and international stature. Under his leadership, Secretario developed Cineteca Tijuana for international films, El Cubo Fine Arts Gallery, the IMAX Theater, and our wonderful Museum of the Californias, as well as bringing national and international groups to Secretario and into the theater, which is also the home of the Orchestra of Baja California and the Tijuana Dance Group. Javier Plascencia told the New York Times that the mission of his signature restaurant, Misión 19, was to revitalize the food scene in Tijuana and the city itself. In an interview with the New York Times, he called his cuisine Baja Mediterranean, or Baja cuisine, combining the finest ingredients of the region. He started his experience as a child in the kitchens of his family's restaurants, first at Giuseppe's, later at Cesar's, and the elegant Villa Severios. Plascencia told the Times that he would later travel the world in search of flavors, ingredients, and different types of cuisine before returning to Tijuana to consolidate what would become his own style. Branching out, he has launched the wonderful dining experience at Finca Altozano and its adjacent boutique hotel, La Divina in Ensenadas Valle de Guadalupe, our premier wine country. When it comes to food and drink, Javier has become a cultural icon at a very early age. Now, we could start with our panelists because I think it's good to have the Secretary first. Do you have a presentation, Pedro?
Bien, voy a iniciar con una introducción y luego pondré algunas de las diapositivas. Alguna vez un amigo me dijo que la única ocasión que los grandes metrópolis culturales han volteado a ver a México fue en la época del muralismo, el gran movimiento inspirado por Diego Rivera, José Clemente Orozco y David Alfaro Siqueiros. Sin embargo, estudiando un poco más el asunto, aunque este tema sigue siendo el punto de atracción toral para el arte mexicano en los Estados Unidos, justo en febrero de este año, en Nueva York, se inauguró una gran exposición en el Whitney Museum of Art, denominada Vida Americana, Mexican Muralists in American Art. Es decir, de qué manera el muralismo mexicano, con personajes no solamente los que ya mencioné, sino hay que sumar la gran explosión que ha significado Frida Kahlo o Alfredo Ramos Martínez o Rufino Tamayo, cómo estos artistas mexicanos fueron determinantes en la concepción del arte americano del siglo XX. Justo antes de entrar al aire a platicar con ustedes, me llegó una foto del taller de Siqueiros, donde está el joven Jason Pollock estudiando con él. Entonces, el arte mexicano ha sido un atractivo siempre en los Estados Unidos. Pondré unos antecedentes muy breves, porque es lo que me permitió a mí hacer un trabajo en San Diego. En 1962, los Kennedy visitan el Museo de Antropología en México. La imagen de Jackie Kennedy debajo de la cuatlicue o de la Piedra del Sol, pues se publica en los principales diarios de los Estados Unidos, de México y de América Latina. 3 años después, el maestro Fernando Gamboa, un extraordinario museógrafo, se puede decir el director, el fundador de la museografía en México, llevó una cabeza olmeca a la Quinta Avenida de Nueva York, que le valió 2 primeras planas consecutivas en el New York Times. La noticia pues, le dio la vuelta al mundo, porque las cabezas olmecas, que es la cultura olmeca es conocida como la cultura madre en México, es anterior a los mayas, es anterior a los aztecas, anterior a todas las culturas de Monte Albán, en Oaxaca, etcétera, que pudiera, o que a alguien se le ocurriera mover una cabeza olmeca con ese peso y esas dimensiones, y colocarla justa en la Quinta Avenida de Nueva York, se concibió como un triunfo artístico y cultural, y el atractivo que esto generó. Años más tarde, en 1990, el gobierno de México, con el apoyo ya de la iniciativa privada, abiertamente en la cultura, concretamente Televisa, el presidente Salinas inauguró en el Museo Metropolitano de Nueva York la gran exposición México, Esplendores de 30 siglos. Y el texto introductorio del catálogo era del premio Nobel Octavio Paz, que ese año lo obtuvo. Y entre otras cosas, Octavio Paz decía que en estos 30 siglos de arte mexicano, si bien es cierto, no hay una repetición, hay una constante en el arte mexicano. Hay ciertas formas, cierta sensibilidad. Y esto atrajo ampliamente el interés, porque, la cultura mexicana abarcada entre los olmecas y la última pintura de Gabriel Orozco, digamos, se comprendía un común denominador. México se ha debatido todo el siglo XX entre 2 fuerzas poderosas: conservar la tradición o acercarse a las vanguardias mundiales. Es decir, seguir pintando paisajes campesinos, agrícolas, o las últimas expresiones del modernismo. Pues México tiene esa doble lectura, es lo que se pudo concluir en esta exposición de Esplendores de 30 siglos. Se incluían algunas piezas de Frida Kahlo, pero frente al museo había una pequeña galería que tenía una obra de Frida que fue adquirida por Madonna. Esta compra que hizo Madonna de Frida Kahlo y la publicación del libro de Hayden Herrera, la biografía de Frida Kahlo y las pinturas de Frida Kahlo en los 90s, es lo que le dieron el inicio al movimiento que hoy conocemos voy a ser modesto, en casi todo el mundo, como la fridomanía. La hay en Estados Unidos, la hay en Europa, particularmente en Alemania, porque el papá de Frida, el señor Guillermo Kahlo, había nacido en Alemania, pero también en Francia, en Londres, en Madrid, donde llena exposiciones, sobre todo cuando va acompañado de Diego Rivera. En 95, Sharon Stone declara, si yo pudiera conocer a Octavio Paz y me pudiera leer su poesía, me enamoraría de él completamente. Paz, entre otras cosas, cuando él recibe el premio Nobel, dice el jurado de la Academia Sueca, le dimos el premio Nobel por su inteligencia sensual. Seguramente lo que leyó y lo que entendió así Sharon Stone. En 2016, en Los Ángeles, LACMA organizó una exposición extraordinaria. Pablo Picasso, Diego Rivera, Conversaciones a través del tiempo. Esta exposición, que me tocó en suerte acompañar a mi amiga Guadalupe Rivera Marín, la hija de Diego Rivera, llorar ante la emoción en la inauguración porque dice, es la primera vez que a mi padre le dan un nivel al lado de Picasso. Es decir, estamos hablando que esto ocurrió hace apenas 2 años y Lupe Rivera Marín considera que es la primera ocasión que a su padre, Diego Rivera, que nosotros lo consideramos el gran monstruo, el gran creador de la pintura mexicana, el gran artista del siglo XX, él estaba viendo, Lupe, que por vez primera se le hacía este reconocimiento a su padre. Pero también hay norteamericanos que han escrito novela en México, Steinbeck, La Perla, Malcolm Lowry, Bajo el Volcán, y hay grandes estudiosos de la cocina mexicana, Diana Kennedy, que descubrió para el público norteamericano la cocina mexicana, que se quedó a vivir en Oaxaca y sigue estudiando y escribiendo sobre la cocina de nuestro país. Ha publicado Las cocinas de México en 72, El arte de la cocina mexicana en 75 y El sabor de las cocinas de Oaxaca apenas en 2010. Pues este contexto me permitió, ahora voy a entrar ya en materia. Cuando yo llegué a San Diego, nombrado en 2001, lo primero que le dicen a uno es, no hay presupuesto para hacer nada. No budget to doing anything. Entonces, me puse a pensar qué era lo más conveniente y resultó que lo más relativamente sencillo era generar un ciclo de conferencias con los escritores, pintores que yo había conocido a lo largo del tiempo. Y la primera sede del ciclo de conferencias fue la Universidad de San Diego, USD, y llegué como cualquier hijo de vecino, así decimos en México, a rentar el auditorio, un auditorio de 400 personas, que tenía evidentemente un costo de arrendamiento. Le dije a la Secretaría de Relaciones, ustedes nada más apóyenme con dinero para la promoción, y el resultado fue que el primer año hicimos todo el ciclo de conferencias ahí, fueron 7 conferencias, pero que el público pagaba, y de la taquilla yo le podía pagar los honorarios al conferencista. Conseguí que la Secretaría pagara los boletos de avión, pagábamos la renta del espacio, y nuestros amigos del Valle de Guadalupe nos regalaban el vino, y el presupuesto del consulado se limitaba a pagar la cena del invitado. Al año siguiente se acercó Wells Fargo con nosotros y dijo, queremos patrocinar a los de México. Y lo mismo, el espacio ya no nos renta, y lo mismo Aeroméxico inauguró su vuelo Tijuana-San Diego. Entonces el ciclo ya se pagaba solo. Entonces fuimos cambiando de sede del ciclo para dejarlo permanentemente en el Museo de Arte de San Diego porque nos daba mayores facilidades y logramos organizar más de 70 conferencias bajo ese esquema, casi 80 conferencias. Vinieron los principales escritores, pintores de México y cada conferencia era un acontecimiento. Tuvimos a Carlos Fuentes, a Carlos Valls, a José Luis Cuevas, a la hija de Diego Rivera, Guadalupe Rivera Marín, Alberto Ruiz Sánchez, hablamos de Octavio Paz, y todo este ciclo fue quedando y creando un público. La mayor satisfacción quizás fue que cuando hablábamos de la historia de México o hablábamos de algunos libros clásicos de la literatura mexicana, los maestros de las high school y de las universidades enviaban a sus alumnos como una práctica de clase. Entonces, esto permitió generar un movimiento en torno a la cultura mexicana. Me tocó celebrar el 2010 y allí organizamos el primer simposium de México en 2010 con grandes exponentes, 2 americanos, Eric Van Jong de UCSD, experto en independencia de México, Underwood, experto en Revolución Mexicana. Teníamos entonces los 2 expertos en historia de México en los 2 momentos del Bicentenario y el Centenario de México. Estos ciclos ya los organizamos en el Mingay, porque encontramos el gran interés del Mingay en la cultura popular mexicana. Rob Cisner fue un gran aliado. Entonces, Rob Cisner era para tener la historia y la tradición de México. Por ejemplo, exhibimos 500 botellas de tequila, contamos la historia de México a través de botellas de tequila, con la magnífica exposición del restaurante El Agave de San Diego, de Old Town. Y por otro lado, teníamos estas expresiones tan contemporáneas y teníamos un gran aliado que fue Hugh Davis, que organizó una exposición en todas las Museo de la Joya, denominada Tijuana Strange New World. La frase del escritor inglés Aldous Huxley, autor de Un Mundo Feliz, y así le quisieron poner a esta gran expresión, esta gran exposición, con recursos de la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores, del gobierno de Baja California, la llevamos a Washington y Los Ángeles. Entonces, ya sé que estoy rebasando mis tiempos, llegando a mis 12 minutos, a mis 13 minutos, pero quiero decir que este gran interés no hubiera sido posible sin el apoyo de los museos de San Diego, el Banco Wells Fargo, la línea Aeroméxico y la apertura de los museos y de las universidades de San Diego, que tienen San Diego State, UCSD, gran interés en la cultura mexicana. Hasta ahí le dejo y ahí está mi tiempo inicial. Muchísimas gracias. Muy buenos días a todos.
Many thanks, Mr. Secretary. We greatly appreciate that. Martha, we were greatly anticipating a great event this summer, the new home, the Shell, a Bayside Summer Nights. But virus got in your way. But there will be another summer, next summer, so tell us about that.
Yes, we were very excited to open the show this summer, and obviously that was not going to be possible. So sometimes they say good things come to those who wait, and we are, if not patiently, we are certainly waiting. It's been an incredible year with for the San Diego Symphony Orchestra, with the appointment of Rafael Payare, our music director, who comes from Venezuela. Rafael started with us in 2018 in January, and we, after having seen 21 conductors come through as possibilities for music director, we knew really at first sight that Rafael was a perfect match for the orchestra and the city region. Rafael comes from Venezuela, but he is absolutely an international music maker, really conducting on podiums all over the world, recently in Japan and certainly in Europe and in the US. So he began the season as music director, had 6 weeks of concerts before the pandemic, but he's been here in San Diego since March the 13th, keeping close to his orchestra and involved in lots of the virtual things that we're doing. Raphael could not be more excited about the outdoor site, the Shell, which has really been in the thoughts of San Diegans for, better part of 17 years. But in earnest, it began in 2015 when we started working with the Port of San Diego and the Coastal Commission to obtain a 50-year lease for this piece of land that we have been having a temporary venue on for now 15 years. Construction began in September of 2019. And going forward, by January, we were still more or less on target to open on July the 10th. But of course, once the COVID virus it started interfering with supply and so forth, we certainly realized that we were going to be slowed down, but more importantly, that we were just not going to be able to. The San Diego Symphony Orchestra is so excited to have welcomed Rafael Payari as our music director this year. He had concerts with the orchestra over 6 weeks, and we knew we had absolutely made the right choice. Rafael is from Venezuela, but has conducted all over the world, most recently in Japan, and he's returning to Europe soon to conduct in Sweden and many places in the United States. And he has been here since March the 13th, deeply connected with our orchestra and our audiences during this time of pandemic, and really having great innovation and ideas around programming and connecting with our audience virtually often. This is Rafael on the stage of the Shell, and no one is more excited about this development than Rafael. The Shell was 17 years in concept, but really the last 5 years have been intense in terms of bringing it to fruition. As you can see from this artist rendering, it's there, right there on San Diego Bay. It is intended to be a park. Most of the time, we'll occupy it about 15% of the time, but otherwise it will be open to people to walk around and enjoy those beautiful views. The facility itself seats roughly 3,500 to up to 10,000 people for a concert, but we will occupy it 15% of the time. As I said, the rest of the time it is a park. This is another view, and you can start to see this, the vibrancy. There is not a bad seat in this house. It's on one hand, it has grandeur and is just imposing, but the intimacy that you feel wherever you stand or sit on the lawn is palpable. It will have a state-of-the-art sound system, including surround sound with these light towers, 6 light towers around the facility, all of which will have surround speakers so that the sound will sort of envelop you. The stage is larger than the orchestra has had before, and that means we can have wonderful guest artists, guest choruses, and a full orchestra on this stage. Also has amenities, including this beautiful walk-in plaza as you arrive, and it will also have food pavilions. We have not only 2 kitchens available to the public, but we also have food carts throughout the venue. So a wide range, including many area restaurant owners and chefs that are coming to bring a local feel to this. We very much wanted to focus on our local food artists. So here you can see the Shell under construction, and you can see it's got a massive technical component to it. The technical side of things will eventually be covered up by an inner liner, and you will not see, the public will not see this, but under here are acoustic panels that are both reflective and absorptive, plus the rigging system that will allow the hanging of video screens, of a sophisticated amplification system, and of course of incredible state-of-the-art lighting system. These are the food pavilions I mentioned before. This plaza is going to be open, and in fact, we can have it open even when there are not concerts. And I know that this is going to be kind of a hub for the performances. And now you can see the kind of grading of that audience area. It rises to about 10 feet in height. And at the back of that, and in fact, underneath the back of the seating area are 64 indoor restrooms, which is something that the former site was longing to have, is indoor plumbing. Now this is another great feature of this site, is creature comforts for all of our audience. Again, a look at that complicated catwalks and sophisticated staging. This is a tensile structure. It is steel frame with a sort of stretched fabric that is, you can stretch it about an inch an hour. And so this fabric is stretched tight on the steel. And in fact, it is a resonance chamber in and of itself for the music. And when you bang on the outside, it's like a tense drum. It has its own sound. In addition to the show, which we hope is going to welcome people to San Diego from all over, including our many visitors, we are very involved in our community, in the community of San Diego. And in 2018, we did an incredible project in Friendship Park on either side of the border. And it was 60 percussionists, many of them flying, for instance, many came from Guadalajara, and it was the first time they were ever on an airplane. Percussionists on both sides of the border, of the fence, and performing a piece by John Luther Adams called Inexut. Everybody began in a close cluster, talking to each other on either side. And as the piece, which lasted an hour, as the piece continued, everybody spread out and had specific instructions as to how they should interact. The people, I was obviously on the Mexico side, and everyone was having a wonderful time, and kind of stumbled upon this concert, many by accident, that it was happening there. But you can see it was festive, and it remains one of the most incredible experiences I've had in my many years in performing arts. I think that one of the border guards really summed it up. He said, I had great anticipation of this day and some trepidation to think of listening to drummers for an entire hour. But the piece was beautiful. And he said, at the border, we often think about our differences. And today we thought about our similarities. So that was really one of our best concerts. And Alma Delia Abrego of the Orchestra of Baja, California, we had a field trip to hear the orchestra and to meet her. And then she came to San Diego to hear our orchestra. And this was all, of course, pre-pandemic, but we really hope to be able to work more closely with the Orchestra of Baja, California. We are doing a number of programs in San Diego for our youth. We have ambassador programs so that youth are understanding in the summer. They come together, and this year virtually, about what it is to work in an office, what it is to run an organization, what it is to meet the public. They learn how to raise money. And last year they raised $5,000 at our performances to support our military concerts. And this is a job training program from many high schools in San Diego as one example. We also work with a group called David's Harp. It is an after-school program to youth, some of them suffering from homelessness, who learn music production. And they come and they film many of our education programs for us. They've started their own business, but we also, our sound producers that work with us, especially in the summer, are mentoring them and giving master classes. So those are just a couple of the areas in which we are working. We also, our musicians go to Las Colinas and have performed 2 concerts there. But importantly, we've started a drum circle there with the women. That's been, every time it's offered at 7 o'clock in the morning, there are more people that sign up than we can even accommodate. And this is a way we think that we look at music to reach people, to understand our similarities, to inspiration, and offer a way of healing, of engaging, and of growing. So our mission statement is changing lives through music, and we try to live that as every day in our lives. While we're on this kind of pause, we are looking at various things that we can do virtually, and we have a number of things on our website that is called at sandiegosymphony.org. And you can find some of these there. But I just want to say how happy I am to be on this panel today. When I came here 6 years ago, one of my great goals was to really look at important work we could do together binationally. And the pandemic has somewhat put that on hold, but hopefully not long. And I really look forward to bringing the San Diego Symphony musicians to some of your churches, to halls, to community centers, and vice versa, to really foster more inclusion and more communication. So thank you for including me today.
Thank you, Martha. That's great. We all look forward to next summer, but also the continuing programs you're doing. Javier, Plascencia, Tijuana has become a major North American gastronomic destination, primarily due to your pioneering of Baja cuisine. Tell us what makes Baja cuisine or Baja med so special and so unique?
Okay, the ingredients that we have here down in Baja California are very spectacular. We have, we have the Pacific Ocean, and we also have the Sea of Cortez. So we have, we're very well known for seafood, but we also have amazing products from the land. We have great agriculture. We have amazing tomatoes, strawberries from San Quintin, berries, olive oil. I mean, you name it, we have it. And so it's very close to our restaurants. So we work very closely with the producers, and that makes it very unique that, that we're working together. Also, the culture, we have many people that, immigrants that come for a better living here in Baja California, or people. And so that the people that come to Baja California with the dream of making a better living or trying to cross the border, they end up staying in Tijuana. And people from all over Mexico, Oaxaca, Sinaloa, Puebla, also the immigrants that have come to the city from El Salvador or Haiti, or they stay here, and it's a cultural mix of different cuisines, and we learn from those, we learn from them. And that's what makes it very unique. Also, our neighbors, San Diego has amazing chefs, also amazing producers. So we're working together with them. So they've been coming to Baja California for some years, and we're learning from them, and they're also learning from us. So we are very tight. We are very united with the chefs from San Diego and the producers. And that's what makes it very, very unique and interesting. And plus the wines that we have here, Bajio Guadalupe, the craft beer scene is very, it's growing a lot. And we take a lot of inspiration from the Asians that live here in the city too, and in Baja California, the Chinese community, Japanese, and now with the Thai and Vietnamese flow that we're getting, it's very exciting.
That's great. We all, at least we on the north side of the border, are greatly looking forward to coming south back to the Valle de Guadalupe. It's actually hard to watch you there when we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space. The weather is great. We've been getting a lot of tourists from central Mexico. Most of the restaurants are open now, and the hotels and the wineries. We are working, 50% capacity, but still we're outdoors, so it's safer and people feel safe, and it's great. It's amazing. It's been an amazing month, and we're happy to see all the tourists come back. Hopefully you guys can come back soon too.
Thank you. We will. Judy Grandwohl, more than almost any other organization in San Diego, the Natural History Museum has been involved with Baja California, the entire coast, particularly of the Sea of Cortez. How is the NAT working to protect this unique wildlife that we have throughout the Baja Peninsula?
Well, I am delighted to be able to be here today and talk about some science in addition to culture. I represent the San Diego Natural History Museum, and we have been binational since our beginning almost 150 years ago. The Baja California and California make up one continuous bioregion that is bisected by the border, and humans are the only form of life that recognizes this border. We at the museum study plants and animals on both sides, in addition to the effects of the wall on wildlife. And I just couldn't keep from showing this photo. I was looking for historic photos from our expeditions and found this fabulous photo from 1930 of the border crossing. We have had expeditions and on both sides for quite some time. This is a 1930 era field vehicle in Baja California. On the right, reminding me to talk about the longstanding tradition that we have of environmental conservation as well in the peninsula. Starting in 1937, the museum, led by Clinton Abbott, campaigned to stop the slaughter of sea lions and seals for the use in dog food, which is what you're seeing on the right in Mexican waters. The industry started in California, and when it was outlawed, it moved south. And so it was an international effort to get it stopped in Baja as well. We still have a number of expeditions in normal non-pandemic times, and they're always binational. We are proud to maintain professional relationships with universities, governmental, non-governmental organizations throughout the peninsula. One of the major programs we have done in the past is a film called Ocean Oasis, which was produced by the museum in 2000 about marine life in the Gulf of California and the Baja California desert. And the film helped efforts to include the Gulf of California in the list of the World Heritage Sites. So it is an internationally protected area now, partly due to the efforts of Mexican conservation organizations and this film, which has been shown at the museum. It's been shown in Secut. And in the pre-pandemic times, it was also shown at the Museo Caracol and Ensenada. We also make the film available at no charge to any organization and to communities throughout the Baja Peninsula. We also have a tradition of environmental education throughout the peninsula. This is photos of a program called Probea, which was around for about 25 years. And then other non-governmental organizations really took up the work, not so that the museum did not have to take the lead anymore. And we've turned our focus toward undergraduate and postgraduate education training with the hope to help develop a generation of Mexico's scientists and decision makers. We study a number of species that live on both sides of the border. One of my favorites is the red-legged frog. And just last March, actually it was March 14th, right as the border was starting to close and COVID was marching on both sides, we were able to have a successful translocation of eggs from Baja California near the Mailing Ranch up to 2 sites in Riverside and San Diego County. The red-legged frogs had been locally extinct in Southern California, and the closest relatives to this population were in Mexico. And this is a rare example of an international conservation success story. And I'm told that the eggs were introduced in March, and we now have froglets hopping around California, and we'll be able to hear the red-legged frog, which has not been singing in this part of the world for decades. Another interesting story is the Mexican long-tongued bat, which is listed as federally as endangered in the United States, and it winters in Mexico, but flies north following the agave bloom in the spring. And we're working on studies investigating the connection between the success of agave plants in coastal San Diego and this population. On a recent expedition, our scientists discovered 2 mines that have brooding maternity roosts for these bats with 10,000 bats. We're trying to understand what the effects are of that population are on the agaves. And I just wanted to show the bat-friendly tequila sign, which is a really wonderful program that's helping to conserve bats and conserve the diversity of agave plants. So ultimately, it will help with your tequila production as well. And the bat-friendly tequila program keeps a small proportion of the agave ranch allows the spikes to bloom rather than harvesting before the spikes come up. That supports the bat population, and the pollination supports diversity and longevity of the agaves. We also work binationally on preserving data and sharing data. These are 2 databases that we maintain, one on the flora of Baja California, and also an amphibian and reptile atlas of peninsular California. Additionally, many of the scientific organizations in the area work together to share both information and promote conservation. And we're right now working on rare and threatened plant species together in the Sierra de la Giganta, the Sierra de la Giganta in the Guadalupe corridor. As I mentioned earlier, humans are the only species that recognizes the wall, but the wall affects many types of wildlife. And this is actually a photo farther east along the wall, not in the Tijuana-Tecate corridor. But our scientists are working right now with along the US-Mexico border to understand the rare plants that are being affected by disruption. And then we also have scientists who worked on the court declaration documenting negative environmental effects of the border fence construction project. So we are monitoring both the effects of the wall as well. Every year, we participate in what's called the Border BioBlitz, where teams of scientists and community scientists get together on both sides of the border to document the stunning biodiversity at key sites along the US-Mexico border. And the program uses this iNaturalista, which is the Mexican version of iNaturalist, to record species that people are seeing and creates a sort of social community around observations of plants and animals. Of course, our mothership is in San Diego in Balboa Park. Our museum has been in this site for over 100 years at this point. And because we have all of the materials are bilingual, and we cover the natural history of California, and are just starting for the museum that will address the natural history of the Baja Peninsula. And as James mentioned in the introduction, we sit in Balboa Park with 16 other sister museums, and the museums themselves have a tremendous amount of exchange. We heard Dr. Ochoa talk also about some of the exchange with museums in terms of sending artwork and exhibitions. San Diego Zoo Global is involved with cross-border conservation work as well, and the museums also highlight Mexican artists in San Diego. And then a couple of the museums, the Timken Museum of Art and San Diego Museum of field trips from Tijuana schools. So students receive docent guided tours of various museums in Balboa Park in pre-COVID times. The Baja Peninsula has been called the Galapagos of North America because of the number of species that occur there and nowhere else in the world. And we are dedicated to ensuring that this important natural patrimony is preserved for future generations on both sides of the border. We value our relationships with sister organizations and colleagues in Mexico and look forward to ramping up our fieldwork as soon as travel is safe again. And I invite you all to visit us if you are in San Diego. In the meantime, learn about our bilingual programming by visiting our website. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Judy. At this point, everyone has given his or her presentation. All were great. Diverse as this region is. The cultural scene, the music scene, the dance scene, and both sides, the food and wine scene, make this region so different than any place else. We have just finished putting together a new book that was commissioned. It's called El Tercer Pais, San Diego, Tijuana, 2 cities, 2 countries, 1 community. It will be inaugurated in English and in Spanish at Tijuana Embajador virtual in October. Javier was one of the people that was interviewed for the book. This was, we have, our sponsors are from both sides of the border. and we're very pleased. It was written by award-winning writer, published by Silicon Valley Press, and will be available to obviously all of you and to your to the people that you have in wherever we can have that book out. It's 400 pages of our two cities. It covers an awful lot of history that go back when we were all one country, New Spain. Then we were all one country, Mexico. And then, well, we know what happened. So, but together, I think we're able to pull ourselves back together, and that San Diego, Tijuana are an example for North America. We're an example for how the United States and Mexico, along with Canada, can work together for the common good of all of our people. So much here in this on this continent that to have anything that really separates us is a big mistake. So at this particular point, we have about a half hour left, but I would like to ask you if you would like to ask each other a question about what you are doing. Pedro, Mr. Secretary?
No.
You have some other words to say.
No, bueno, yo sigo trabajando con San Diego, ahora desde la Secretaría. Me reuní hace unos días con la Ópera de San Diego para empezar a tener algunos conciertos. Nos van a empezar a compartir algunos conciertos virtuales para Tijuana y estamos adaptando espacios para hacerlo en el modelo de lo autocinema. Yo creo que la relación es permanente y eso nos da muchísimo gusto. Lo mismo empezamos a trabajar con la Sinfónica de San Diego y me ofrecí para ayudarles a tener un concierto en Bellas Artes en la Ciudad de México. Empezamos a trabajar con Víctor Vilaplana este proyecto, pero la pandemia ha frenado todo y la cultura pues no es la excepción, ¿no? Es el gran peligro de la humanidad. Un amigo me dice que estamos viviendo tiempos bíblicos y me parece que es cierto. Sin embargo, el único que la goza es Javier Plascencia, como pueden ver ahí, está en un Edén, ¿no? Pero yo creo que el trabajo conjunto se sigue dando, como decía la directora del Museo de Historia Natural, desde el punto de vista, desde las instituciones y los artistas empiezan a trabajar muy de cerca con las instituciones americanas. Esta idea de la sola región, de las facilidades que presenta, yo creo que son muy grandes. Hay un proyecto mayúsculo entre los dos gobiernos para declarar la ruta de las misiones en Alta California y las dos Baja Californias, declararlas Patrimonio de la Humanidad. Yo creo que ese sería un gran avance en comprender cómo las misiones son esta cadena que une culturalmente las dos regiones, desde Alta California hasta Baja California Sur, pasando por Baja California. Creo que es un proyecto mayor. Ayer le compartí a Javier un libro fantástico sobre las historias de las misiones. Y creo que ahí pudiéramos trabajar muy de cerca, porque desde las misiones no solamente viene algunos términos civilizatorios, sino también el lenguaje, el cultivo del vino, la cocina, etcétera. Y puede ser un proyecto en que podamos trabajar juntos, los aquí presentes, junto con otros museos y organismos culturales del sur de California. Lo dejo sobre la mesa como un proyecto a futuro.
Thank you, Pedro. It's interesting, the work that you did when you were at the consulate to make Mexican Americans and Mexicans living on the San Diego side of the border aware of the culture of their country. I think it's critical because we want to make sure that we all understand each other's culture. At the same time, Judy came to us from Washington. We suffer from, or are blessed, if you want to put it that way, of being about as far away from our national capitals, both of them, as we can get. So there are things that we can do here. I remember talking to our consuls general on both sides. Sometimes they can work together to solve problems that need not ever go to Mexico City or to Washington. We know our region best. So I would ask those of you who are here and your friends and your colleagues to encourage everyone to know more about both sides of the border. Obviously, passports are a problem. Most Americans, surprisingly, don't have one. Most Mexicans don't have one. And without that, we have on both sides is limited. We would like to see more Mexicans get the passports and to also to get their visas. Last year, and I'm on the board, was on the board of mainly Mozart, we had Autism Weekend here. We went to Tijuana to Pasitos to talk to the kids down there, and we had some 60 kids who wanted to come up to the program. That was fine, but most of them didn't have passports. So the two consulates worked together to make sure. The Mexican consulate went to Tijuana and helped them get their passports, and then the U.S. consulate helped process the visas and able to work with the kids who also have autism on both sides of the border. So we need to be sometimes more innovative here than Washington or Mexico City would ever think about. Martha, you're also new here, relatively new. Can you talk about the general music scene in San Diego?
Well, I think San Diego is an exciting cultural scene in general, and certainly musically with the opera and David Bennett and all of the innovation he's brought to San Diego Opera, including his Detour series, which has been just revelatory, and really think opera at that scale reflects the time we're living in today, as opposed to, grand opera, which is also reflects the time we're living in today in different ways. But David has been terrific. You mentioned mainly Mozart, of course, and Nancy Letourneau is a great leader there. La Jolla Music Society is right now doing, has decided to do their Summerfest, which occurs every August virtually, and is bringing people from around the country to make music together with their new leadership in Ina and Barnaton. So these are great partners. And our theater world in San Diego is also rich, and we talked about our museums. So I did come from Chicago, which is of course a bustling city, but I am probably able to take in more culture here because of its proximity, its availability, and it's really excellent. So I couldn't be happier. And I completely agree about the cuisine of both Tijuana and the Valle. I was there a couple of years ago. It's such an exciting place to be, and the food scene here in San Diego is great as well.
I think we're learning to adapt right now to dining outdoors, which is very pleasant right now. May not be so if this thing continues back into, but at least winter, we can be outside. We're blessed with some of the best weather in all North America. Javier, you want to talk more about the general wines production, and you mentioned craft beer, the craft beer production on both sides of the border?
Yeah, in Valle Guadalupe, in this region, we produce 90% of the Mexican wines that are produced in Mexico. We have about 200 wineries, registered wineries now in this region, and the wines are just getting better and better every year. We have from Nebbiolos to Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnays, a lot of Bordeaux blends, and that's why Valle Guadalupe is getting such an attention, not just in Mexico, but in the whole world, because now you see all the wines, a lot of the wines are being exported from out of Mexico. So I feel very proud when I go to the States and I see the wines in the wine list of one of the, like the French Laundry now carries a couple of wines from Baja California. So it's, and we're seeing a lot of more articles like the Wine Enthusiast, Wine Spectator, all those major wine magazines are looking into Baja California now. And it's not just the wine, but also the restaurants that are opening here in the Valle and in Ensenada and Tijuana, all the region. It's just getting better and better and better. It's very unique. The little hotels, the wineries, it's just an amazing place to be right now. And it's just going to keep growing and growing and getting better and better. And the olive oils also are amazing. And craft beer scene, it's very, very interesting because we're learning a lot from the master brewers in San Diego. We were very, very together. I made a couple of beers last year with a couple of brewmasters from San Diego, and this connection that we have, and it's very interesting. I made a beer with epazote, Mexican honey. It was amazing that went very well with one of my dishes from one of my octopus dishes that we serve in Finca Altozano. And I also made another beer that with Peter Brothers in San Diego, that it was based on a dirty martini. That those flavors was very unique. And so that's what we're doing also with food and chefs. We're collaborating in the two cities, and that's what makes it very, very interesting. This whole area, it's very interesting because of this connection that we have. And well, now my restaurants have 90% of my wine lists are from this region, and we feel very proud of what we're doing right now, and it's just one of my best times to be here right now. So we're still working, learning. We are documenting everything that we're doing, because we're such a young region that we don't have much history. So we kind of making history, astronomically speaking, and it's very important to us to register and you know, we're creating recipes for Baja California in this region. So it's a very, very interesting times, and I think lots of good things are gonna come out of these years to come. And we have the ingredients, we have the talent, we have the creativity of the people, and we have you guys as a neighbor. So what more can you ask for? So I'm very excited to be here, and actually I'm also in Baja California Sur, which it's the same thing that happened here in the north. It's happening in the south. Cabo San Lucas, San Jose, Pescadero, Todos Santos, they're becoming these huge places to visit because of its food. And so I encourage you all to come in Buenos, which is, he also has amazing products and food. So it's going to be very good years to come for Baja Sur as well.
We're anxious to get there. Judy, you talked about the work that you've been doing at the NAT. You have a 150-year-old institution there that you're guiding. Tell us some of your plans or what your thoughts for your next 150 years.
Well, that's definitely a important part of my job. And so I really see my job as getting us ready for the next 150 years and creating a blended model that uses on-site, online, and in nature activities, because we think it's going to be quite some time before we pull out of the pandemic. But also we've learned a lot, and we are able to reach people online in a way we have not been able to reach them on site. And so we are looking at creating this blended model, and part of our 150th celebration will involve inaugurating a gallery that's devoted to Baja California, which is part of our mission area and has not been represented as well as it could be in the museum itself. So I'm very excited about
Mostly Tijuana innovadoras of the past. Our audience have been us, the people from San Diego and Tijuana, Baja California. This Tijuana innovadora, though, it will be worldwide. People will be able to tune in from Europe, from Asia, from the East Coast, from Latin America. So we do have the great opportunity here to promote ourselves for our culture, for our tourism, for our food and drink, and to let a lot of people know what a very special place San Diego, Tijuana, San Diego, Baja California is. Quite often, my friends come down to Los Angeles and they think they're just coming down to the beach. And then they come down and they realize there is so much here that we don't need their 12 million people here permanently, but we're happy to have them as tourists. So I would love to, for any of you, if you have any questions, there will be a question and answer period. I don't know how for sure yet they're going to do it at the actual Tijuana Embajador in October. So if there is no other comments from any of you, can you just give us just your own quick wrap up, Mr. Secretary?
Con todo gusto, James. Muchísimas gracias por la oportunidad. El trabajo ahora en la Secretaría, porque ya he hablado un poco de lo que pasó en el consulado y he hablado un poco de lo del Secut. El trabajo ahora lo tengo concentrado en dos puntos: el conocimiento de la historia, y esto me interesa mucho compartirlo con ustedes. Celebramos en febrero el segundo Congreso de Historia de Baja California, después de 60 años que se organizó el primero. Baja California ha cambiado bastante rápido estos 60 años. Lo otro es qué hemos hecho en términos de pandemia, ahora que se ha paralizado la actividad. Bueno, estamos publicando, en estos últimos meses tenemos ya 3 libros circulando y muy prontamente, muy próximamente, los próximos 3. Estamos publicando libros de historia, estamos publicando literatura de Baja California y en términos de pandemia, estamos produciendo casi 60 actividades por mes para ver de manera virtual. Y eso nos ha generado mucho público, muchos seguidores en nuestras distintas páginas. Entonces, ahí nos hemos concentrado en el conocimiento de la historia, la difusión de la historia de Baja California, la literatura y la producción de los espectáculos en línea. Hemos tenido participaciones del gobierno de Quebec, en nuestra página, por ejemplo, de Colombia, Ciudad de México, y con mucho gusto está a disposición de todos ustedes. Coincido contigo, James, que el trabajo que se ha hecho de vincular a nuestras dos ciudades, efectivamente los muros fueron puestos para separar, pero terminaron uniendo aún más a estas dos comunidades. Muchísimas gracias, muy buenas tardes.
Gracias, Pedro. Judy? Any last words for us? First, I want to say Don Jose Gallico, the founder and a man behind Tijuana Embajador, expects to have an audience overall of at least 2 million during Aura. If you had 2 million people to say something to, Judy, what would you say?
Wow, you're setting the bar high here, James.
Well, for you, there is no bar too high, Judy.
I think the binational culture in our area elevates us all. And it is a tremendously place to live. It's an exciting place to visit. And it feels like we're just on the upward trajectory. You've heard from all the speakers, all these great plans that are going on, how we're constantly learning from each other and innovating and growing. And I think it's just going to get more exciting as time goes on. And I couldn't be more pleased to be here and also to be presenting on this panel. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Martha?
Well, this has been a fabulous hour to spend with all of you, and I thank you. I cannot wait to hear the San Diego Symphony Orchestra in Mexico City at Bellas Artes, but I also know the beautiful places in Tijuana that we can play, and I want to do a meal paired with music in the Valle, and our musicians, every musician loves food, so we would love to play there and make an evening for audience and musicians alike. And I agree, San Diego is a really exciting place to be right now. I know our future is even more promising than our past because of our binational relationship, and this region is so strong. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Let's add some native plants to that meal.
Perfect. and some frogs.
Javier?
Well, thank you for having me. I would love to have musicians from San Diego come in and do a set pair with music. That would be awesome here in the. And also, I want to. I mean, there's a beautiful space in Todos Santos that I'm thinking about doing an event for this with this film. If we can do it, I would love to. And let's keep on sharing ideas and doing great things between these two amazing regions, which I only see one, but the border situation. Pedro, I just want to ask, ¿qué pintura es la que tienes atrás de tu escritorio? ¿De quién es el pintor? ¿Es de la francesa que estaba por Tijuana hace tiempo?
No es Daniel. A ver, pásale, Daniel. Daniel, estoy en la oficina de Daniel Serrano, que me la es el director del Centro Estatal de las Artes. Hola. Saluda, Daniel. Hola. Y pues que nos platiques un poco de la pintura. No es Daniela Galois, ¿eh?
Ok, tenía como la duda.
Es el acervo de la Secretaría de Cultura de Baja California.
Muy bien.
¿Cómo se llama ella?
Laura
Rey Zapire. Es que tenemos acceso a la colección de obra de arte de la Secretaría de Hacienda. En México los artistas, los pintores pueden pagar sus impuestos con la pintura. Llegan a la acumulación de obra que lo prestan a los estados de la República. Entonces, ella se llama, puedes leer nuevamente.
Laura Rey Zapire, Escapar de la Abundancia del 1995. Es un collage sobre papel.
Se llama Escapar de la Abundancia. ¿Quién quiere escapar de la abundancia? No lo sé, pero así se llama el cuadro.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
On behalf of Tijuana Embajador 2020 and the Cultural Connection, I want to thank all of you, Secretary Pedro Ochoa, Martha Gilmer, Governor Plascencia, and Judy Grandwohl for being a part of this program.